everyone, I'm Teela with Deep English and I'm really excited for another lesson together. Today we'll be learning 5 useful idioms in English. An idiom is an expression or phrase whose meaning isn't necessarily obvious. So even if you understand every single word within an idiom, you may not understand the idiom's actual meaning. And so this can be a bit tricky. That's why it's really important to take some time to memorize a few idioms, because the more idioms that you know, the more natural you'll sound when you're in conversation with an English speaker. So let's get started. Our first idiom is once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon. So once in a blue moon is an expression that refers to something that happens very infrequently or almost never happens. Something that happens very rarely. So we can use this idiom in sentences like, once in a blue moon, I eat dessert before dinner. Or, I said yes to the trip to Africa because an opportunity like this only comes around once in a blue moon, so I had to say yes. So once in a blue moon, something that is very rare. So now, let's take a look at the history or kind of the origins of this idiom. I think that when we learn the story of different expressions in English, it helps us to more easily memorize their meaning. So first, let's just look at the words blue moon. A blue moon is a full moon that happens twice in 1 month. This happens every 2 to 3 years, so this is something that is very rare. But why is it called blue? It seems like a blue moon has nothing to do with color. Well, originally, blue moon used to be Bellew moon. Bellew is an old English word that means betrayer or to betray. So Bellew moon meant the betrayer moon. Okay, so what's going on with this? So the betrayer moon was an additional moon that happened in the springtime that meant that people that practiced a certain religion had to fast for 2 months instead of 1. So when this betrayer moon happened, people had to fast twice as long. So you can imagine why they called it the betrayer moon. So Bellew moon became blue moon, something that happens rarely or almost never. All right, let's move on. Idiom number 2. To be beside yourself, or beside myself. So this is an expression that means to be overcome with emotion, to be overwhelmed with a feeling or an emotion. We might use this idiom in a sentence like, when my boss called me into her office, I was beside myself with worry. Or when he proposed to me, I was beside myself with joy. So beside myself or beside yourself. So let's look a little bit closer at this idiom, beside yourself or beside myself. This idiom has roots in ancient Greece. So the ancient Greeks thought that when a human experienced an intense emotion or feeling, their soul actually stepped out of their body, so that they were witnessing themselves from beside themselves. So anytime they had a strong feeling, they were beside themselves. This is really interesting because modern science also tells us that when we experience a strong emotion, like excitement or even fear, we can disassociate or disconnect from our bodies and essentially stand outside of ourselves. So this is one way to help us remember what the idiom beside myself or beside yourself means, which is simply to be overcome with a strong emotion or feeling. All right. Idiom number 3, light of my life. Light of my life. So light of my life refers to the most loved person in your life. It refers to someone who brings a lot of joy, happiness, maybe laughter into your life. So we might use this idiom in a sentence like, he was the light of my life until he broke up with me. Or, it sounds strange, but my cat is the light of my life. Light of my life. So looking at this idiom, we might think, well, what does it have to do with light? Very little, seemingly. But I think it's easy to remember the meaning of this idiom if we can imagine someone in our lives that lights our lives up with joy and happiness, almost like sunshine that makes us feel really good. This person would be the light of your life. Do you have someone in your life that is the light of your life? If so, comment below. I know I'd love to read about some of the people who are the lights in your lives. Okay, so let's go on. Idiom number 4. It's deep down. Deep down. Deep down refers to the place inside of yourself where you keep your most secret feelings and your most secret desires. It's like a hidden place inside of yourself. So deep down. I might use this idiom in a sentence like, I said yes to the invitation to go to the party, but deep down, I didn't really want to go. Or, from a young age, I knew that deep down, writing would be a huge part of my life forever. So deep down. So let's take a deeper look at the meaning of deep down. So when we think about where we experience strong emotions or even our desires, it's not here in our head. It's down deeper in our bodies. So science also says that in our heads we have thoughts, but in our bodies we experience our emotions. So whenever we hear the idiom deep down, we can remember its meaning by just kind of thinking about where we really experience our emotions and our feelings, deep down inside, within the body. So this can help us to remember what deep down means. All right, let's look at our 5th and final idiom. It's let your hair down. Let your hair down means to allow yourself to be more relaxed or playful or more free than you usually would. To let your hair down. We might use this idiom in a sentence like, my friend is always so serious. I begged her just this once to let her hair down. Or, Friday after work, I like to go dancing and let my hair down. So to let your hair down is just to relax, maybe be more playful, have some fun. So this idiom has nothing to do with our actual hair. And we see here why it's so important to learn several idioms. Because imagine if you were in a conversation with an English speaker and they said, oh, let your hair down a little, and you were to shake your hair out. How funny would that be? Would be a little ridiculous. And so this is an opportunity for us to see just how important it is to learn the meanings of some of these idioms. To let your hair down is an idiom that has some roots, though, in this idea of letting our hair down. Because in the 17th century, women had to always wear their hair up in these elaborate, fancy updos. It wasn't until they came home at night that they were able to let their hair down and finally relax and kind of be more playful and be themselves. So to let your hair down is an idiom that has roots that seem obvious, but its modern day meaning is a little different. And that just means to be playful and to be relaxed. All right. So that does it for today's lesson. 5 useful idioms. I hope you join me for my next lesson. I'm already looking forward to it. Until then, have a great day or week or month. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. See you later. Wait a minute. Before you go, I have a request. In the comments below, please tell me if this lesson was helpful. Please tell me if it was too easy or too hard. Maybe even say the things that you really liked or didn't like. I'm always looking to improve these lessons, and I would love to hear from you in the comments below.